Hello, this is David Swafford, and this is Flight Scenario Running Rough. So, a brief overview, we'll talk about our scenario, a demonstration of single pilot resource management, SRM. We'll go over some V speeds and VMC. Uh, then we'll talk about one engine inoperative procedures, and finally, we'll discuss some aeronautical decision making. So, real quick, our scenario is that during a recent trip, we had an engine that was running rough and decided to review one engine inoperative procedures and operations. Our local flying club is conducting a training session on this subject at its next meeting. So, we'll move into some SRM principles. As always, we want to manage our resources as a single pilot that would be using everything available to us. And in this scenario, it's going to be our checklist is going to be the most important. And task management, we want to make sure that we're moving through everything, that we've got our flows kind of memorized, and we know what we're doing. And we always want to avoid CFIT, controlled flight into terrain. So V speeds and VMC. So flying a multi-engine aircraft, you're going to have different V speeds than you would with a single engine aircraft. There's now instead of just we're concerned about two engines and a single engine operational speeds, and so a couple different types now that we have is best engine climb speed, best climb with a single engine speeds. We've got our, of course, always our rotational speeds. We've got our minimal controlled speed, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And we also got our safe single engine speeds and our landing speeds, of course, and our gear and flaps up speeds. So where to find some of our V speeds? It should be in your airplane flight manual or your pilot's operating handbook. And for us, that's where I'm going to reference mine, is out of Piper's airplane flight manual. And so what is VMC? So our definition from the airplane flying handbook from the FAA in Chapter 13, Transition to Multi-Engines. VMC is currently defined in 14 CFR Part 23, Section 23.2135C as the calibrated airspeed at which, following the sudden critical loss of thrust, it is possible to maintain control of the airplane. VMC is typically marked with a red radial line on most airspeed indicators. So essentially what that means is that VMC is the minimum speed at which we can maintain control of the aircraft, and it's indicated by our red radial line on our airspeed indicator. So what are some factors that affect VMC? Well, there's multiple factors that affect it. There's no requirement that the airplane has to be able to climb, but different performance characteristics such as gear up, gear down, flaps up, flaps down, the weight of the aircraft, the speed, the weight and the balance. There's a lot of different factors that go into determining what VMC is, and we need to know that every aircraft, every airplane is different, so pay attention what the VMC speed is for your aircraft. For ours, according to our operating handbook, VMC is 56 knots, so we need to stay above that during single engine operations, and always be aware of what VMC is and how it's configured for your aircraft. So one engine inoperative procedures. Again, we're going to refer to our handbook, and Many multi-engine aircraft are the same, but again, you want to follow your handbook because it's going to be specific to your aircraft. So the most important thing is to maintain control of the aircraft. We always want to fly the airplane at the end of the day. So you want to start off by using rudder into the dead engine, and we're going to raise the aileron of whatever that dead engine, or we're going to use rudder into our good operating engine and raise the dead engine. A good phrase to remember that is to raise the dead. So to identify and verify our inoperative engine, I'm going to read right off of my checklist. So we're going to go ahead and, again, maintaining directional control, pitch attitude, and airspeed. For us, we want to maintain our blue line, and that's going to be 82 knots. And then we're going to go mixtures full forward, props full forward, throttle full forward, flapping gear up, identify with our dead foot. And we're going to raise the dead. And then we're going to verify by closing the throttle. So whichever the dead foot is, meaning whichever foot we're using our rudder on, the dead foot is the foot that you're not using any rudder. So you're going to throttle, you're going to bring the throttle back on that foot to verify that that engine is dead. And you shouldn't hear any difference in engine performance. And you should be able to see that, you don't have any power coming from that engine. If that case, you're going to feather it by going ahead and going to the prop control and pulling it back to fully feather the inoperative engine. And then we'll follow the checklist for securing our inoperative engine. We'll lean it as required. We'll turn magnetos off, fuel pump off, alternator off, fuel selector off, close the cowl flaps, perform our cruise checklist. So some considerations, let's say you're in the middle of your flight, you're in the en route portion. Perhaps securing the engine is not something you want to do, or feather it. We should hopefully have enough time during the en route portion to kind of sit there, troubleshoot the engine, figure out what's going on, make sure that there's gas getting in there, that the engine maybe didn't overheat, that our magnetos are on. Basically, go through the checklist, troubleshoot the engine instead of automatically shutting it down, because who knows, maybe we could restart it and be able to get back to 2 engines instead of 1. So finally, some aeronautical decision making. As always, we want to make smart decisions. We want to constantly be using the PAVE checklist, pilot, airplane, environment, external pressures, our decide models, and our 5 Ps. We want to continue that throughout the flight to keep making smart decisions. So in conclusion, we talked about our scenario, a demonstration of single pilot resource management. We went over our feed speeds and VMC, our 1-engine inoperative procedures, and we talked about some aeronautical decision making. And our references come from the FAA, Pilot Aircraft Corporation for the use of their manual, and the FAA, again, the Department of Transportation for the Airplane Flying Handbook. Thank you for watching my video. Have a good day.